floodlight. What a nice pause. Just pausing, noticing the mouth opens and it's like, let's go this way or let's go that way. And where my mind is in this moment is reflecting on the unique gift it is to get to walk next to people in their journey of change. Just learning that really your job is just to hold the space. It's just to be in the space, to be honest. That's pretty much it. Be present, be in the space, hold that space, and be honest. From there, people have an inner compass. They have that inner voice, that deeper knowing within that can carry them there. Sometimes it's just helping them to uncover, the rubble of life that has accumulated, just to allow them to be willing to look beneath the surface and be honest about what they see and what they feel, and be honest with those wild feelings beneath the surface that we're all taught to suppress and put away and hide, be ashamed of. What would it be like to teach people, to teach children how to just be honest? We preach honesty, but we don't teach it at all. What do you notice in your body? What is the sensation in your body? What is your mind telling you? Can you be honest about observing what this thing we're living in is telling us, how it's responding to the environment, the story it's telling, the sense it's making? What if we were taught to be honest about it? And I think that's the story of healing, really is, it's a story of becoming something, getting caught up in some sort of story, or, the stories in life that we tell ourselves, and we get wrapped up in it. We become something, and then sometimes something big happens and it puts us in a position where we have to choose. You choose living or you choose dying. It's the death of the self. It's the death of the ego. It's the resurrection story. It's allowing oneself to unravel and to let go. And as I'm saying this, I really feel it in my chest. I really feel it in my throat. Because I'm being really honest in the moment about my journey the past few years. There's some real power in being honest. There's some real relief in feeling and just allowing yourself to be honest. Just be honest with yourself. Look beneath the surface and just be willing to take a look at what you see. I'm sorry for my heavy breathing. I'm really breathing to ground myself and breathing through the sensation in the moment. So we're born into the world a pure and honest little being, and we become something. We're so profoundly influenced by our families, by our environment, by our teachers, by our aunts and uncles, and our local community. We're so profoundly influenced by the stories that everyone is telling themselves, how everyone takes their inner world and projects it into the outer world. How they interact with that outer world becomes the stories that we co-create and that we all become a part of. We're all a part of this, forgive the word, but we're all part of this matrix of stories, all working together and colliding together, and we're all acting out this thing and co-creating this thing, and we're all complaining about this thing that we're all co-creating. We're all literally choosing to be a part of, and we're making it a thing by telling the stories, by clicking on the channel, by reinforcing it, by consuming it, by becoming it. We create it, and then we complain about it, and we feel helpless to it. We feel helpless and powerless to it, and we say, oh, who are you going to vote for, the Republican or the Democrat? Are you going to vote for which one? Which one? Which one? And you think you have a choice. But we choose to be a part of it. We choose to make it. We choose to tell those stories. So we become a part of something. And we elaborate this story over the course of our life, and we have all these wishes and dreams and ideas and things that we think we need to move toward. We're supposed to become something. We're supposed to become something, and that thing is told to us by the world around us. You should become this. What do you want to be? I should become this. But then you become that thing, and that story comes to fruition that you've been dreaming about and thinking about and believing you need. I have to get to that thing before I will be happy. I have to get to that thing before I will be fulfilled. But you become that thing, and then that thing starts to kind of fall apart. You start to realize the illusion of it. You start to realize the blind spots. You start to realize the places you have ignored in your body and in your mind. You've been telling yourself a story. There's a lot of denial in that story. There's a lot of things in the past that get pushed down and pushed away that you don't want to fully acknowledge, and then there they are. There they are in your most painful moments, staring you in the face. For me, the deepest pain of that, and I'm not going to indulge in the story as much as I'm going to navigate the learning. I feel like I'm finally in a place where I can talk about this from a place of honesty and curiosity and just wanting to share without indulging in the story of it, without woe is meing it, you know? So I got to that place where I feel like I can just tell it, just be honest about it. And I realized that along this journey, along this path that I was on, that there comes a time in that where it's the story that you thought you had to become, or the story that you became, the thing that you became, the thing you wrapped your life around, you wrapped your ideas around, you wrapped your heart around, you wrapped your mind around. And it has momentum, that thing. It's this, moving organism, and you've created all these tendrils to other people and other ideas and other beliefs and other things. And it's, you're part of the co-creation. You're part of the co-creation. You're in it. I'm this, I'm that, I fit here, I fit there, they fit there, they fit there. I'm all part of this thing, and we're all co-creating this thing, and we're all telling this story. So I found myself wrapped up in my story, and that story started to unravel. And at this place, it doesn't matter why it unraveled as much as it unraveled. And when it starts to unravel, you try to pull it together. You try to hold it together. You can imagine the image of it. We all do this. We all find ourselves in this place. We're trying to hold it together. We're trying to, keep the torn parts together. We're sewing it together. We're pulling it together. We don't want it to fall apart. We can't let it fall apart. We can't let the story fall apart that we're telling ourselves and we've become a part of, and we need to protect. But what happens, I'm not saying the story, I'm not saying your life isn't worth defending in any way. That's not where I'm going with this. It's what happens when your perception of that story is not real. What happens when your perception is different than the reality? What happens when you didn't realize how many blind spots you had? What happens when the way it is not what you thought it to be? And you start to come to that realization. And holy shit, is that realization a kick in the kick in the nuts, you know? It's just a real kick in the nuts. And as I'm speaking, I mean, this is kind of real honest talk I'm having right now. I'm feeling it in my body. It's like, I think that's healing. That's good. It's really like allowing it to open up and to release. You know, to admit to yourself, it's okay to admit to yourself, wow, there's been some denial there. There were some blind spots there. I totally didn't see that. I totally ignored that. Wow, I got caught up in that thing. I got caught up in that story. The momentum of this thing I started a long time ago just took on a life of its own. And a part of that is really awesome because that's becoming. It's becoming someone. It's becoming something. A lot of that is wonderful. A lot of that is beautiful. A lot of that I'm really happy to have gotten to experience in my life. At the same time, it takes on a momentum. It takes on a story. You don't even realize you're getting wrapped up in this story you're telling yourself. And what happens when that story starts to unravel? When, you know, the agreements, the ideas, the things that wove this story together, what happens when those things, you know, the code's no longer acting itself out? You know, the rhythms are no longer in sync. The agreements are no longer honored. And you can whine and complain and yell and scream and stomp your feet all you want. This isn't fair. This isn't right. I have been wronged. I have been hurt. Indeed, you may have been hurt. Indeed, I have felt that. But there's the lesson, you know, there's the story of getting to the place of, oh shit, this thing really is going to start to unravel. And then getting to the place of hopelessness and helplessness and powerlessness. A lot of you have been there. I know a lot of you who listen to this, you've been there. Hopelessness and how, you know, that place of powerlessness. I don't feel like I have power in my life. I don't feel like I have a voice. Oh man, this whole thing that I thought I was a part of, that I truly believe in. I'm talking about love. I'm talking about marriage. I'm talking about family. I'm talking about the stuff we all move toward. What happens when that starts to fall apart? And you can't hold it together. Nothing you do holds it together. You find yourself at a crossroads. And if you're willing, that crossroads is a pretty deep, dark place, but it's also the place of liberation. Can you look deep down into your own pain? Can you look deep down into your own anger, into your own rage, into your own, the thing we call the shadow? Can you look deep down in there and be honest with yourself? So you come to that crossroads and it's like, am I gonna, like Brooks says in Shawshank Redemption, you know, get busy living or get busy dying? And that's a real place that a lot of people go to. Most people avoid that place, I would say. Most people do not want to get to that place because that is a real crossroads place. Get busy living or get busy dying. Am I going to let this thing consume me? Am I going to feel, why do I feel powerless? What is the root of the powerlessness? It's based upon the rules and ideas and beliefs and things that I've become fully attached to. This beautiful story that I thought I was telling myself. This is what they call attachment. This is what they call bondage. This is my life. This is me. This is who I am. The story of attachment. And man, can you be powerless to your own story? But it's supposed to be this way, but she's supposed to, but I thought we were, but we said, but we were once. Oh man, it hurts. It really, really, really hurts. I've been in that hurt in the not so distant past. I know a lot of people are in that hurt in a lot of different ways. Man, is it a profound hurt. And I also discovered along the way that it was also the most profound opportunity to heal, to grow, to unravel. You know what? Once that story started to unravel, I came to that crossroads. It was real. It was real many times. Face to face with your deepest fear, face to face with your deepest pain, face to face with your deepest sadness. Get busy living or get busy dying. What are you going to do? Okay, if you're not going to do that, I decided I'm not going to do that. Well, now it's like, well, am I going to half-ass it then? Am I going to choose to live, but I'm going to half-ass this life? I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm going to choose to live, but I'm going to be fucking pissed off all the time. Fuck you. Or if I'm going to choose to live, if I'm going to choose to revel in being a father, and if I'm going to choose to somehow relinquish this pain and relinquish this fear and relinquish this story and allow myself to choose love, to choose to live and resonate from a place of love from the inside out, to realize that the goal of life wasn't to find love. It wasn't to earn love. It wasn't for anyone to tell me I'm good enough. It was to become love. It was to allow love to become me. And that can be a very genuine, rational, energetic, emotional place within you to release all the stories, to release all the fears, to release all the, yeah, but they did this to me. Yeah, but I had this. Be like, I'm just going to surrender all that shit. And I'm not saying this happened overnight, man. We're talking about 3 solid years of unraveling, daily practice, daily hitting the reset button. It would have consumed me if not. Just daily hitting the reset button, daily making a commitment to doing my own work so I could be there for my clients and be there for my children, to not be consumed by this, but to grow through it. And as I'm circling around the story, that was kind of it. It's like, okay, man, if you're not going to choose that path, if you're going to choose the path of living, why would you do it in the least amount? Why would you do it in the shy way? Why would you do it in the, okay, I'm alive, but I'll be over here in the shadows. Please don't look at me. Please don't talk to me. Leave me alone. Fuck you. So at some point, something really clicked through a series of experiences, through a series of moments, through a long series of micro and macro moments of unraveling. And as the deepest pain occurred, and as the deepest pain unraveled itself, and as I had to do that daily work, it became a process of, okay, what I feel that pain, I notice that pain, but what is that pain? There's a story there. There's some attachment there. There's some kind of a pulse in my body that's related to some kind of perception and some kind of story. And do I really need to tell that to myself? Do I really need to do that? Do I need to keep acting this out? Is there a choice there? Turns out there's a lot of choice there. And it's in the letting go. It's in the, oh, yeah, there's pain, but that pain is part of a story. And being this story has already been unraveling, why don't I just keep unraveling it? And at some point it went from resistance to allowance. It went from resistance to allowing. Like, oh, if we're going to unravel this, let's unravel it. What is that thought about? What is that sensation about? What is that feeling about? What is this story about? And it just kind of became my salvation. I was talking to my mom about salvation tonight, the salvation story. And I'm not about to try to proselytize anyone, so just chill out there. But just looking at it ubiquitously across the spectrum of the human experience and the story of salvation. And I was telling my mom that, as a child, there was all these Christian debates about, well, if you're saved, if you have Jesus into your heart and you're saved, well, can you just go now party, sex, drugs, rock and roll, because now I'm saved and, I just need to confess once in a while? Or how does it work? How does salvation work? A lot of debates, Lutheran, Catholic, everywhere in between, about what that actually means. But from my own heart, from my own point of view, because I don't care to really preach at anybody, I'm just telling my own feelings, my own sensations, my own story. I told her that for me, salvation was a one breath at a time thing. It's a one moment at a time thing. It's a practice thing. It's an allowing thing. It's becoming love. It's becoming Christ. It's Christ within, the divine inheritance, God becoming you, realizing you are a story, realizing you've been telling yourself a story. And the really cool thing in part of where I'm speaking from in this present moment is, it unravels and it's like this big sweater that's just unraveling and something's inside of there. And as it unravels, all of a sudden, all these things you're holding on to, all these things you think define you, all these things you think you are, that you have to be, that we have to keep this story going the way it is. As you unravel, you go from, I need this thing to be safe. This thing is actually me. What is that thing? It's the ego. I'm wrapped in this story. I'm wrapped in this thing that I think that I am, and I call it this, and it's experienced this, and the world treats me this way, and this is where I fit. But as you unravel that, you go from resistance to allowance. You're like, oh shit, man, I'm loosening up. I'm freeing up. I'm starting to feel really loose. I don't feel constricted the way I used to. I don't feel restricted anymore. I don't feel the energetic pulses in my body holding me back the way I used to. Holy shit, this feels good. And away it goes. And this is coming out of me in this moment because this is just where I am tonight. And I'm sharing it with you because I know how many of you out there are in your own version of this. We all are, man. We all are. And it's all, where I started tonight, just getting to walk next to a lot of people in their journey of healing and change. What you realize is every individual has become something. Every individual has become a story. We're all part of this thing that we co-create. And you watch people go through this journey of experiencing this profound pain, but then starting to step outside of that story and starting to observe it and notice it and witness it and recognize, oh, yeah, that hurts. Yeah, I did lose this. Yeah, this did happen to me. But you see people through willingness, through just a willingness to say, okay, I'm going to have faith that if I step forward, there is a letting go thing. There is something there holding me. I'm becoming something. Oh, that thing was already a part of me. It's always been there. I just needed to uncover it. I needed to release this whole thing. It was there when I was born. It was there when I was a child. That's why we are to become like children. So everyone's story is their story. Everyone's journey is their journey. You can never say like, "Oh, I've been through worse than you." I don't like when people do that because, yeah, some people have been through some real shit and they can be like, "Oh, I've been through more than you." But you also haven't lived the life of that other person. Everyone's life has its own suffering. What have we learned by being a quote unquote privileged society? There's suffering everywhere. Our suffering is, our perceived suffering is greater than that of a lot of people in really profoundly struggling areas of the planet. So what has privilege gotten us? A lot of attachment, a lot of stories, a lot of ideas, a lot of things we think we are. Those people that go through a lot of suffering, they have to let go of that story. They have to release it. There's an enlightenment there that we have completely and totally disavowed, that we have not opened our eyes up to. The fact that those who are in suffering are also or have released a story. A lot of people, of course, people also can take the dark path, the get busy living or get busy dying. They can go down that dark path, the path of resistance, the path of denial, the path of constant projection onto others. It's the opposite of healing and growing. It's becoming more denial, becoming more shame, covering it up. Pretty soon you've told yourself such a nasty story your whole life that you couldn't possibly take responsibility for it or come to terms with it. So you need to constantly deny your own reality to survive, and then you deny other people's reality around you. And that's a path some people take. But there's a lot of people in the world who have experienced suffering, who have let go of any kind of crazy story that they would tell themselves of getting something. And there's such a beautiful humility in some ways to that. If you've ever seen some of the documentaries on happiness, well, where are the happiest people on earth? They're not here. They're in places of humility. They're in places of having to let go. They're in places of get busy living or get busy dying. And when you're living each day to survive, when you're living each day and you have to be in a certain rhythm each day in order to be, man, you're going to be grateful for your water. You're going to be grateful for electricity. You're going to be grateful for a working toilet. You're going to be grateful for food in your belly. You're going to be grateful for friendship. You're going to be grateful for your neighbors. So I know I unraveled a few things there, and it's okay. I'll go back to... Oh, I got a warning. My little storage is getting low. For me, salvation was being put in a position of having to surrender to the thing that, for me, was the most important part of the story I had been telling myself. The journey I had been on, what I had aspired to, what I believed would be, the most important part of my life. And being put in that position of, man, no matter what I do, I can't keep this thing together the way I want. And damn, does that hurt. But that was the salvation, the surrender to it. Having to choose. I can be bitter and angry and full of hate. I can be done with life, or I can choose to live. And if I'm going to choose to live, okay, I want to relinquish this fear. I want to relinquish this sadness. I want to relinquish this shame. I want to do the work of letting go of the stories I've been telling myself. And the salvation is I'm going to live a breath at a time, and I'm going to notice when my body pulses in anger, and I'm going to notice when my body pulses in shame, or notice when my body pulses in fear. And I'm just going to notice that sensation in the moment like I have been as I'm speaking here tonight. And I'm going to be okay with that sensation. It's just a feeling in the body that's been programmed by life's experiences. And as I speak through it, I grow just a little bit in the moment. As you speak through it, as you accept that sensation of fear or pain or sadness or anger, You realize you don't need to become it. What's amazing is what's left is this joyful place of love without attaching a label to it or a story to it or an idea or a doctrine. The pure experience of it is allowing love to become you. There's a real peace, and I'm being honest with that in the moment, and I'm so grateful for all of you sharing this moment with me in this journey, and I'm so grateful, for the good friends and good support and for the journey that it's been. So I'm here. I'm here for, you all that are in that place, and you might want to kick in the butt, or you might want to ask a question or two, or just whatever. Sometimes we need a flashlight in the dark to find our way in that pathway, Anyway, everyone, this is Dr. Mark Jesinoski. This is the Wizard Podcast, episode 32. Thanks, y'all. Love you. Take care. Have a great night.